Hey guys, welcome to Making Mindfulness Fun. Today we're going to talk about how to win your mornings. How to win your mornings so that you can go through your day with fulfillment and passion and joy instead of feeling in a constant state of reactivity and stress. And the way we're going to do that is through this thing called brainwaves. Now, really quick, if this is your first time to our channel, I'm Gabby.
I'm Isabel.
And here we help you on your journey to higher consciousness so you can experience more joy, love, and liberation.
Please make sure you like this video. Make sure you also subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on post notifications so you don't miss a single video.
So when we talk about how to win your mornings, there's this thing that we call, in our family, we use the term Theta Time. And Theta Time has to do with our brainwaves. So we have 5 brainwaves. We have Delta, which is our deepest sleep. Then we have Theta, which is that, what I call the dream state. You know, you can be awake and experience Theta, but it's also, you know, it happens naturally when we wake up in the morning and we still feel, we're aware of our surroundings, but we're still lying in bed and we're just blinking our eyes open. And then it's when we fall asleep at night. And then next we have Alpha. Alpha is our creative state, but it's also our fluidity state. It's our creative state where we're, you know, if we're doing artistic expression or if we're doing something like yoga or running, any sort of cardio where we are moving, we have to be conscious of our bodies, but we're also getting lost in our train of thought. Next we have Beta, and this is key. Beta is the mental brain state where we are focused and we are productive, and it's an important part of all of our life, right? We can't get anything done if we're not in a beta state, but we spend way too much of our lives in a beta state. And when we overuse our beta state, we essentially put ourselves into that fight or flight stress response, and that's why so many people have deteriorating health because of stress, because we spend too much of our life in beta. Beta is reactive instead of proactive. Then finally we have Gamma, and Gamma is going to be a whole other video series because Gamma is our peak performance state. It's our flow state, and that can only be accessed by you know, going through a certain set of it's like a maze, right? It takes a lot more effort to get there, and that's like really the final aspect once you nail this part first. And so I'm gonna let you explain what exactly Theta Time means for you.
Yes, so Gabby explained it perfectly, and the brainwaves are so important, and while it sounds just like really deep psychology, it's also so important, and it's real. And we don't realize this is that when we wake up in the morning, we're naturally in our calm state, like Gabby said, but it's so natural. We have 2 parts of our brains. One stays in that calm that allows us to rest and say, I can just digest food, I'm in a safe place. It's something that we naturally have. But now, as we've developed as a society, we naturally wake up and there's so much stimulation to take in. There's like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, and our brain is already going into our sympathetic nervous state. I won't get into that very much, but because we're getting into that state, our bodies are now wired. And the thing is, it'd be fine if we went into that state and then we came back down to our calm, but we get stuck there. It's something that we naturally get stuck into. And so that's why mindfulness is so important, because all these mindfulness practices take us back literally into that calm parasympathetic theta and alpha brain waves. So we want to give you some very specific activities you can do for these to get back in your creative state, but also like the reasons, and it can be anything, is the big thing we want to cover. In that it's not just, maybe you heard us say creative and you're thinking, oh yeah, so now I have to paint every morning, is that what you're telling me? No, it's not just specifically being creative. There's many different ways you can do it, and it's amazing how much it'll affect your health. The last few days for me, it was crazy. We are back in our house for the past few weeks, and I try to get in the habit of painting every morning because that helps me stay calm in the morning and express my creativity and stay in that gentle, slow brain waves. But over the last few days, I started getting caught up in work. You know, this has probably happened before, and you can probably relate, where you're like, okay, I just have a few too many things on my plate, so I need to get up and do them. And you try to resist at first because you know deep down that we shouldn't be jumping into that and jumping into work straight in the morning, but it's so hard to, because you just know that you have to get them done. And so I started doing that the last few days, and it was amazing how much my mental well-being declined. I was way more frustrated. I could not handle as much stress. I felt way more anxious. I was not showing up as my best self to other people, and that made me feel so terrible. So that's why getting into your creative flow every day is so important.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say is, you know, you mentioned something how when you're in that state of stress, that you feel it in your health, and it's interesting to feel the energetic retraction that you feel about your body, because I'm sure we could look at we could look and say, oh, stress causes this disease, this sickness, this physical ailment, but just from an energetic perspective, when you're in stress, you feel this retracting energy, and you know that this can't possibly be good for my life. And then so on top of it, when you're in a beta state, so when you're, now granted, you have to note that beta is not always a physical manifestation of stress. It's not always when you're like, I'm holding so much tension, and I'm like talking to people very stressed. No, it can be intrinsic, and it can be that state of anxiety. We're such an anxious society. That's beta. And when we're in beta, we literally can't be self-aware. We have to be in alpha to be self-aware. So we have to be in alpha. We have to win our mornings to be mindful. And I get caught up in this too. It's not like we're, free of this. I get caught up in beta all the time because we have this pressure as a society that it's good to be busy. And especially, in Western culture and American culture, it's if you are busy and stressed, that's good. You are doing a great job being a part of the rat race. And even, us who have traveled and been nomads for so long, we still have that same programming that it's good to be busy. And so I actually really we listened to this podcast recently on the Matt Belair podcast, and he interviewed the author of Getting Unbusy. And I don't remember the author's name, but Getting Unbusy, that book is so good, and it talks about why are we so proud of each other for being, oh, great job being busy? No, we don't need to be busy. We need to set ourselves up to win our mornings, to A, be mindful, 2, be present, and actually be in our lives and enjoy our lives, because life is short, right? And now the third aspect, really quick, I want to touch on is, why do you need to win your mornings? Why do you need alpha and theta time, those 2 lower brainwaves before beta? Because creativity equates to self-worth. And most people are going through their lives feeling like they're not enough, right? And the only way to feel like you are that enough, and you're confident, and you're powerful, and you're worthy, is to come back to it's not something outside of yourself, it's something inside of yourself. And the way to tap into that inner power, that inner creativity, that inner worth, is through creativity. It's through self-awareness. And creativity, we talk about this a lot in our courses. When the sacral chakra, in the chakra system, we have a sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is home for self-worth. And self-worth is kind of this ebb and flow balance, where your self-worth goes up as your creativity goes up. And I mean, there's also other factors too, including relationships and emotional vulnerability. But creativity is the fastest tangible way to access your true self-worth. And the same thing goes with the solar plexus, right? If we access a state of self-awareness of who we truly are, which happens in alpha, then we get our personal power back, which creates confidence.
Yeah, beautifully said. And the last way to show even more, to make a metaphor off of why this is important, is think of all the brain waves in this creative state like they're all buckets. And beta state is one of the buckets, the stress state, the one that does stuff. You need to fill each of these buckets. But what we tend to do as a society is, instead of doing that gentle incline, including me, I do this way too often, and it's something we always have to practice and work on, and something we get better at. But we try to, instead of doing that gentle incline through our brain waves, going, okay, waking up, deep rest, now creative, now getting my energy up, focusing, and now I'm in beta, and now I'm focused, hyper-focused, and then calming down, maybe even getting into gamma on the way, of course. But what we tend to do is skip that one, and so then we're leaving that bucket empty, and we try to fill it with the other things, but it doesn't work. We all have to fill that creative bucket to be fulfilled. So do we want to give some ways?
Yeah, so the fastest way, when we say you need to, essentially the goal is to have a balance of all 5 brainwaves, and if you want to find out how to get into gamma, you should check out my Flow State Mastery course. But to balance them, you need to make time to get out of beta by accessing your theta and alpha state. And the fastest way to do that is to win your mornings and make time in your mornings to be creative, to be just in silence. And I know that's hard, right? So you do have to, there's a sense of personal responsibility you have to take, and realism, you know, because some people are parents and have to take their kids to school, or they have to be at work, or they have to be at school, right? And you have to be realistic about, like, well, I truly don't have time in my mornings, and that's okay. You can make time at different parts of your day. The key is that we all have the same amount of time in the day, and we do have a certain amount of hours that we are obligated to do, make money and go to school, etc. But there is time, and we just have to be more disciplined about saying, this is unnecessary. I don't need to spend an hour of my day scrolling through social media, and I'm going to replace that 1 hour with doing something creative and accessing your theta alpha state.
Gentle focus.
What are the ways people can access their alpha
So
state?
get a pen and paper and actually write down what you're gonna make your morning routine as we tell you, because by writing it down, you're gonna set yourself up to actually do it more and set the intention, and both to yourself and the universe. So one of the most obvious ways you can practice being in your theta and alpha brain is obviously meditation, because it keeps you in that calm state a little better and gentle focus. But another way too is a creative activity. So maybe you have, sounds childish, but it's good for your inner child to do maybe a little bit of coloring in the morning, something that literally allows you to express yourself with color and drawing and something like that. Don't you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then you could also, any form of gentle exercise that doesn't
yoga. I mean, like, that's another good one. If you can't do a morning alpha theta time, midday yoga is a common thing that people can incorporate into their life. I mean, going for a run, like I said, any sort of exercise that's not too intense though, because I mean, you do need to exercise for your health, but sometimes more calming and relaxing forms of exercise can be healthier for your brainwaves, and when you balance your brainwaves, your health will be affected by that too. And then actually, if you download Isabel's five free Expert's Guide to Mindfulness, which you can check out with the link below, all 5 of those are really great ways to practice alpha and theta brainwaves.
Yeah, those are all perfect activities. And so think for yourself. You also can choose these things, and these are great, but also think about what makes you feel creative, and what do you enjoy the most. You can go color, but if you're not a person who really loves to color and you have a different creative outlet or physical outlet that you feel like, oh, I love this thing, but I don't get to do it enough, that's definitely a sign that you should do it more and put it in your morning routine.
Yeah, and the last one I would say is journaling, or journaling/writing. I mean, I think that those 4 things, journaling is writing is what I do for my alpha theta mornings. I have to be disciplined about, I don't check my emails for the first 30 minutes in the morning, and I just sit down and I write what I want to write. And sometimes that could be something I need to get done for writing, but either way, the process of writing for me I can't be in a beta state to get my writing done, and so it's key for me to do my writing in the first thing in the morning. So these 5 things are really the things that you really need to incorporate into your life to balance your brainwaves. And so the real difficulty is that a lot of us can look at these things and say, that's ridiculous. I don't need that in my life. But you do, because it balances your sacral chakra, it balances your brainwaves, and it essentially sets you up to live a fulfilling day and have a self-awareness throughout your day.
Yes, and trust me, I know from experience, after becoming an entrepreneur and being so focused on my work, I've seen the change of being able to remember to go back into that creative state. My physical health, my energetic health, more to say, is so different, and I can show up as such a better person for myself and for others, and I feel more fulfilled in my day when I get into that creative. And the last thing I did want to say is that if you want to get into journaling, I actually got this for my birthday. I got this best self journal, and so every morning I now journal and draw in it, and it makes such a difference in my theta morning. It makes me so much calmer, and it really actually sets up my day for success so much better. So we're gonna link that in the description to check it out.
So let us know in the comments which of these 5 things you like the most, or what you're gonna try next, and we'll see you guys next time on Making Mindfulness Fun.
Bye!